Historically, PMS was always at the center of everything that hotels did because naturally it held your customer data, your transactional data, your credit card details, all these kind of truly crucial pieces of the business would sit in PMS. And it still does, but as I see the evolution of PMS these days, over the last probably 5, 6, maybe 7 years now, that piece, kind of the PMS as an overall solution, has been shrinking.
From Hotel Tech Report, it's Hotel Tech Insider, a show about the future of hotels and the technology that powers them.
Today we chat with Liutauras Vaitkevicius, the managing director of the Zetter Group, which runs a collection of 3 boutique hotels in London. LV has already had quite the career in the hotel industry, working his way up the ranks in operations and revenue management, but his early interest in computer science stuck with him and always kept him interested in tech. This background prepared him well to do over 30 system migrations and build several tech stacks from scratch. In our conversation, we cover his PMS selection process at the Zetter Group, how introducing a housekeeping management system made personalizing guest stays easier, and why he consciously chose to keep in-room tech to a minimum. Thanks so much for being here. So let's dive right in. To start the conversation, I would love to hear about your current role, your company, and your background in the industry.
Oh, where to start? So been in this industry for about 17 years now. Initially, I wanted to be a developer when I was much younger. So I was kind of studying to do a bit of coding and whatnot. And then I spent like 3 years doing that and then realized it's not for me. Just didn't want to be kind of stuck in front of a computer for the rest of my life. Then pretty much by accident decided to study international business, came to UK. I'm originally from Lithuania, so I came to UK to study. And then within a month, I just got a job at the local hotel. And that's how my career kind of started. And then very quickly realized that whatever I was studying at uni complemented really nicely what I was doing at work, all the learnings and understanding cost and, people management and reading P&L and all these kind of things. And that's how it started really for me. My background, generally speaking, is operations and revenue. That's how I got into tech eventually. And I think the fact that before that, I kind of wanted to study development. Tech was always kind of in the back of my mind. So I was always curious about it. And I also realized very quickly that hotels in general are very, very behind tech compared to anything else. You have a latest iPhone and you can do so much on your iPhone, and then you go back to work and, some of the technology you had to use at work was 20 years old at the time. It's like, oh, this hurts. So I think back in about 2015, 2016, maybe, I was working parts in a company called Queensway Group. And then there was a project coming up at the time to do basically tech migration, anything to do with revenue, PMS, channel managers, and all these kind of things to kind of change. First of all, find the right solutions and then kind of change it. So at the time, I wasn't really that experienced. I didn't really understand how things worked properly, but that was my chance to kind of come in, learn from my boss at the time and work with him and the group to bring some sort of change. And for me, that's how it started, the whole tech side of things. And then kind of fast forward, I've now done about 30 migrations, 30 individual hotels, built about 7 or 8 tech stacks altogether. Kind of some of them were like copy paste for 5 hotels, some of them copy paste for 2 hotels, some of them were complete individual tech stacks. So I've done about 30 migrations at this stage. And the latest one was, Zetter, where I am now. I'm currently employed as a managing director of this group, which means that anything and everything is my responsibility, essentially, reporting straight to the owners. It's a private equity company. We own the hotels, we own the brands. Therefore, that means that we can do whatever we want with that brand. Now, with that great power comes great responsibility, which means that, whatever decisions we make, there's no layers of, corporate accounts or corporate kind of head offices to run by, right? Whatever we decide, we take responsibility of that. And of course, we make it happen at the same time, which can be nerve-wracking. I'll be honest, because you go like, oh, if this piece of tech that I just chose is not going to work for whatever reason, well, it's my fault, quite plainly. I can't blame a corporate office in Houston or whatever. It's just me, right? But also there's fun in that because I end up meeting a lot of tech suppliers, talking to a lot of interesting people out there, get a lot of opinions. So it's kind of two sides of the same coin, where on one hand you get all this freedom to do whatever you want within reason, of course. On the other hand, there's also responsibility that we get with that. So that's what I do essentially. I've got a fantastic team with me. They're very tech savvy as well, which really helps. So whatever decisions we had made in the past, the team went with it. The team understood why we had to change. The team understood my personal drive to improve those things. Team really understands still to this day needs to automate things, to keep up with latest developments, to keep up with the needs of the business. And again, we're quite a small hotel group, only 3 hotels in central London, but that also allows us to punch above our weight. There's a lot of small groups out there that kind of like stuck behind a little bit and maybe, trying to be risk averse. And we kind of did it the other way around and saying, look, let's try these things. Let's be a bit more experimental. Let's try to be a bit more adventurous with everything that we do. That includes technology behind it. But also let's be clever about it. Let's analyze things properly before we take any decision. Let's tick all the boxes. Let's check it. Let's test drive it. And it really paid off. And last year we kind of got what we call in the UK the kind of Oscars of the industry. We got a Katie Award, which was for the use of best tech stack. So essentially everything and anything that we did at the Zetter, we got awarded for that. Best tech stack in the UK, which is nice awards to kind of get. So is that. So that's what I do. And anything and everything that we do here is our responsibility, but we kind of tackle that head on and we enjoy it. We love it. We love a bit of challenge. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little more about your team? Are you overseeing a corporate team or are you working closely with folks on property?
Yes, I do. It's quite a small team. It's quite an efficient team. Even though we're growing, we just recently purchased another hotel, which is not live. That core team of people is only about 7-8 people, including myself. It's not a big team. We don't have a huge finance function, but that's where technology comes in. For example, we automate a lot of these things. We don't have a huge revenue department. Revenue reservations is only 3 people. And again, technology is a big part of that because we enable our team to do a lot of these things and essentially, wherever possible, supervise the technology, control the technology, and get a lot of these tedious tasks automatically rather than kind of having to do manual copy paste and writing things or whatever. Sales, we got 2-3 people in sales as well, including events team as well. Again, so it's a teeny tiny team that kind of delivers that. The logic here, when we kind of decided to change technology and whatnot, is to keep that central team as efficient as possible, to enable the people to make the right decisions without having to do manual tasks, if that makes sense. And then the same logic went to our operations team as well. So we've got, again, 3 hotels, so 3 sets of individual teams, reception team, a housekeeping team, maintenance, chefs, F&B teams. And again, that logic kind of spread out throughout the entire business, saying, how do we take away unnecessary tasks from our people so they can actually focus on our customers, they can focus on creating this customer experience and customer service, rather than having to do end of shift, balancing, counting cash, counting credit card receipts, doing daily reconciliation. We don't do any of that. Technology does it for us. Yeah, so it is a small team. It's a very tiny team, from corporates being 7-8 people to, kind of operations, which is about, 80 people, give or take in our case as well. So it's that kind of setup.
And so you mentioned there are the 3 hotels. There's one under development as well. Can you tell me a little more about the properties?
Yeah, so boutique hotels, each and every room, each and every property is completely different. Each and every property took about 2 years to develop, from being kind of bought to, built to renovated and everything else. A lot of furniture, a lot of artwork that you see in our hotels is vintage, is antique, it's bespoke, it's unique. The properties are full of character, and with that comes naturally the experience that we want to create to our customers. Now, experience is kind of twofold thing. One is design elements, where you can go, right, we hire architects and designers and you build that. That's one side. It's very expensive, but in many ways it's the easier part. The harder part, as I see it, is once you get the keys to that building, is operating those buildings in the right way, creating that customer experience to complement the design elements, the design decisions that each and every, again, bedroom individually has. And again, I kind of come back to technologies. How do we, or I as a managing director of the business, how do I remove those distractions from my team, from the team that are on the ground, at reception, bars and restaurants? How do I get away from that? Well, they don't need to worry about procurement, purchase orders, processing invoices, again, doing shift time, any of that stuff, automate things as much as possible. Dare I say, we have succeeded really well with the technology that we kind of, brought to the business 2.5 years ago now. And we still kind of keep tweaking things almost kind of on a daily basis, if you like. But yeah, it's creating that bespoke elements, bespoke experience to our customers. That's, we're not cheap. We're not for everyone. Not everyone can afford to stay with us. And, and we know that. So therefore we appreciate when customers keep coming back to us again and again and again, we want to properly look after them as individuals rather than the kind of conveyor belts, check-in, check-outs attitudes. We kind of want to be the opposite of that transactional kind of experience. We want to be individual experience, boutique experience rather than transactional.
Well, you mentioned your award-winning tech stack, so I'm very interested to learn more. If you could tell me, just to start this part of the conversation, what is the most critical tech partner that you have right now, and how does it play into the success of your properties?
So, two elements of that, and I'll explain that in a minute, but historically, PMS was always at the center of everything that hotels did because naturally it held your customer data, your transactional data, your credit card details, all these kind of truly crucial pieces of the business would sit in PMS. And it still does, but as I see the evolution of PMS these days over the last probably 5, 6, maybe 7 years now, that piece, kind of the PMS as an overall solution, has been shrinking. It's being simplified by a lot of players. You've got Muse in the market, you've got Stay in Touch, you've got Apaleo, which we use here. So they kind of went in and said, look, we're going to do these parts very well. We're going to keep it pretty much invisible to our customers, which they did. And then we're going to make sure that our system, that system being PMS, talks to everyone else as much as possible. So open API, essentially. So that was kind of the crucial or the main criteria for us to make sure that whatever PMS we choose, it has those full API connections with a lot of other things or players that we wanted to work with. Second part of that, and that's where, again, the shrinking part comes in for PMS, is the CRM. So essentially, truly understanding our customers' data. Because with PMS, historically storing that data, as they started shrinking, they started analyzing that particular data less and less. So while it's still there, it's not being analyzed. You can't pull detailed reports, you can't see trends, you can't do anything apart from just looking at that data, which, we can all look at Excel spreadsheet, but that doesn't really tell us a story unless you are a potential genius. So CRM came in, and in my mind, CRM is pretty much kind of filling that void that reduced PMSs have left. And CRM is really that analytical tool that really truly helps us understand our customers. How do they book? When do they book? Which room type do they prefer? Is there a particular profile of customer that prefers certain, let's say, experiences is there a reason why they choose to stay with us? And that was for us, still is, and will continue, I think, to be that kind of even more crucial part going forward. Whereas PMS, again, is transactional, and it should be, and very much is serving that purpose. CRM is very much about the future of how do we kind of analyze and understand our customers better today so we can adjust our products. We've got, as I mentioned, we've got a hotel coming up, next year now. So how do we build that hotel to serve those needs, those evolving needs of our current customers, so make sure that, they keep coming back to us. Thirdly, then making sure that any marketing activities, whether it's could be activation, it could be live events, it could be, food and beverage offering, it could be a new drinks menu that we've got in our cocktail lounges. Again, it suits the customers that we have now, where we can evolve together with those customers, continue producing, let's say, a fairly safe product offering, a service offering that they know and love, but also keep surprising them in the same way. So it's being both predictable and safe, but also continuously evolving to continue kind of surprising them in a nice way in a safe environment. It's a very fine line, and that's where kind of our luxury boutique sector comes in, because there's a lot of these kind of things that we do that are small touches that are crucial to our survival. We would never otherwise be able to compete against the big brands because, big brands are known, trusted, and they do things really well. They're well-oiled machines. We are the opposite of that. But what makes us different is that ability to offer great customer service, right? That great kind of touch points and create that ever surprising positive experience. And again, for me, at this stage, it comes down to CRM, because if we understand our customers, if we understand their behavior, therefore we can predict the future, or we can adjust the future a little bit better than, let's say, a brand would ever do, because the brand would be going like, this is our SOP, we do things in a very standard way. And customers trust that, but they don't get surprised by that. They don't get wowed by that. They don't get, kind of positively influenced by that. And that's the sphere where we come in, and that's what we can do better than those brands. And that's what allows us to become a bit more, to kind of allow us to compete against them into the future. because otherwise, well, why are we here? And then kind of probably the fourth element to that CRM that keeps helping us, it's looking at customer behavior rather than demographics. So the old way used to be, age group, male, female, spending limits, potentially postcode where they live, because the postcode may or may not define that kind of, behaviors and whatnot. We found that is not completely gone, but it's almost irrelevant, because you get average young person, so we say 25 to 30-year-olds, that may spend a little bit more than the demographics may suggest just because they want that experience. Or you may find that some, kind of people from slightly wealthier areas, wealthier postcodes, not going to be as big of a spenders, because actually that's not their lifestyle. So it's, again, cutting through those traditional fashion demographics and going into behavior stats and trying to predict that is the CRM. That's, for me, the biggest change over the last couple of years. And that's what we are trying to, again, every day. We keep learning every day here. So it's not set in stone.
And what vendor are you using for CRM?
So for CRM, we use a company called Foresight. I may be wrong. I can't remember. They're either based in Scotland or Northern Ireland. Probably Scotland, but I don't want to kind of misquote. I think it's one of those places. So there's kind of a UK-grown brand that specialize in boutique hotels, just like us, and are very perceptive in kind of developing and working with us, so we can then become better, naturally, to our customers.
Curious to learn more about the other components of your tech stack. If you could walk me through everything from PMS down to, guest app or any in-room tech that you use.
So kind of, again, the logic when we set out to build brand new tech stack was, like I mentioned earlier, open API. So anything and everything should, in theory at least, be able to talk to any other parts, if it's necessary, of course. So starting with PMS, we chose Apaleo because Apaleo is an API-first platform, which essentially the first develop API, i.e. connections to other systems, and then they build a function and data behind it within their own system. So that we found very useful, very kind of forward-looking solution, that really helped us to kind of go like, okay, so Apaleo can talk to pretty much any other system out there. They can connect to any other system out there. So we choose that, and then we kind of try to see what fits within that tech stack as a whole. So Apaleo, Foresight I mentioned as a CRM stat. We use Guest Review for our guest reviews, so it gives us aggregated data through both internal surveys that our customers get post-departure, but also Booking.com, TripAdvisor, Google, Expedia, any review that you can see out there, including Facebook. We'll just get a kind of aggregated that data and can analyze that. Going back to CRM, that's where it helps us, because again, it plugs it back into CRM and we can see the full journey saying, this customer booked with us 20 days out, stayed in this room, in this hotel, this is what they had during their stay, and this is the review they left. So we can kind of see the full arch of saying, right, if the customer books last minute and they book non-refundable rate, they're more likely to spend a little bit more money in-house with us in our cocktail lounge, and this is the review that they leave, and therefore it's a high satisfaction guess because they booked in advance, therefore they made an educated decision, therefore their satisfaction was good, And quite often when we see people that book last minute, we probably are not always their first choice, or maybe they're not as well informed. Therefore, those review scores are slightly lower. Not by much, but just like 5 percentage points. So we're like, okay, how can we adjust and kind of tackle that? And can we maybe clarify some things upon checkout for those that booked last minute? It's just one teeny tiny example that kind of helps us. Going back to the tech stack, so we use an app called FlexKeeping that allows us to manage our housekeeping and maintenance departments. Essentially, again, it plugs into our PMS. So whenever customers check out, housekeeping gets straight away a notification on the phone saying, oh, this room has checked out. If there's any notes, for example, I don't know, housekeeping are cleaning the room and you notice there's a leaky tap as an example. They straight away log it. App offers multiple languages. So, the average housekeeper is, let's say, from Romania, may not speak such a great English. They have ability to log it in Romanian. Our English maintenance guy gets a notification straight away saying, I saw a leaky tap, I'm going to go and fix it straight away. So it's again, bringing those efficiencies, because what we found in operations in general, people tend to kind of write things on notes and saying, oh, room checked out, and they complain about leaky tap, and the notes get lost, and then maintenance don't get told. All these kind of silly scenarios are now avoided because everything is on the app, everything is recorded. And the year comes, for me, I get a full report analytics and say, okay, we had 20 leaky taps over the last 12 months. Actually, do we want to put some CapEx investment to replace those taps? Because fixing them in the end is more expensive than getting new taps. It's silly examples, but it just saves us so much time because we're not working people's memories. We're working on actual data and analytics and kind of just reports behind that. So I mentioned that. For revenue distribution, we use a company called Pace, or it's now called Fluid, I think, as a revenue management tool. Again, it's kind of UK homegrown solution. Again, they specialize in smaller hotels and hotel chains, which we are one. It works really well because it plugs into our benchmark solutions, which is OTA Insights. Well, it's now called Lighthouse, I believe. They recently changed. So, we work with them. And again, there's a wealth of data that come from that. And essentially, it all goes to our revenue director, who then kind of analyzes the data saying, okay, this hotel, this room type, there's a demand coming into this area because of this event on this particular date. What can we do? And then we pull our own website data saying, is the conversion there? Are the clicks kind of for particular dates as the demand's going up? Can we compare that against airline data? So there's so many kind of multiple layers of data points that we get through Pace and FLIR and the Lighthouse that is it's almost endless. But it goes back to that decision making for revenue director, for example, saying, okay, does she have everything she needs to make a decision? Because at the end of the day, you can say, I'm going to charge £150 or dollars for that room, or you can charge £500 or dollars, just depending on where demand is, right? Where your occupancy is. So again, it's wealth of data, and it comes down to enabling our team to make the right decisions and then be efficient as possible with all that data systemized, pulled together, presented to him or her in the right way, in a timely manner, latest up-to-date information. So that channel manager, we use kind of a combination of direct connections and also SiteMinder, just because SiteMinder is, super simple to use. Yeah, it just works. SiteMinder for me is like one of those crucial tools that is, if it works, when it works, because it does work in our case, it's just invisible. You plug it in and forget about it because data just keeps flowing, which is fine, which is exactly what we want. But that, again, allows us to kind of distribute real live data to Booking.com, to Expedia, to Hotels.com, to Agoda, multiple of other OTAs that really help us out. What else? Just thinking about tech stack. So we've got front of house solution, so a bar system, essentially POS, that is called Lightspeed. Again, fantastic solution. Again, open API, cloud-based. Everything is essentially, in the cloud, online, super simple to use. Yeah, just works like magic, which then integrates with PayPal, with our kind of card reading machines, which again allows us to not have any shift, day, week, month banking procedures as well, because whatever you say, if I'm charging $5 on this card, none of our employees can even physically override anything. So there's no balancing issues. There's never, ever any kind of discrepancies. There's never issues. It just works. Whatever we need to charge, we do charge. Payment goes through. Next day, we open a bank account, and it's there, and it just balances as simple as that. We also use a system called Zero for accounting, which again integrates with multiple other touch points, from kind of merchants, payment merchant to PMS to invoice uploads. That also, again, the same logic throughout. Everything is pretty much automated. So we still have a human element to check that, to make sure that things do actually balance, to make sure that, things are kind of adding up on a daily and weekly, monthly basis. But by the time our end of period comes, be it end of week, end of month, end of quarter, whatever it is, our accounts team have very little to do, because they don't need to worry about, just loading a bunch of data or posting a bunch of invoices or posting a bunch of revenue, because things are done in a very nice, concise, consistent way.
Website, booking engine?
Yep. So we use quite a straightforward booking engine. It's called Detco Booking Engine. Again, it came through Apaleo App Store. So we kind of went with Apaleo. They were like, hey, guys, this is all these systems that we work with, literally like an app store. You just click and it just goes live within minutes in most cases. Very straightforward. The system on our website was bespoke. So we used a local agency called Up Hotel Agency over here in the UK. They kind of did it twice for us, because we kind of refreshed the website 2 years ago now, and then did it again a couple of months ago, just kind of in line with new branding. But again, it's same logic. Website is done on WordPress, which essentially allows us to change, amend, update things instantly here by any of us. If there's any major development required, of course, we've got professionals for that. But otherwise, on a day-to-day basis, it's a very straightforward process that we kind of opted in to do. So again, it reduces the risk. It reduces us having to wait for things. And we can, again, we're a small hotel group. So whenever there's a change in the market, whatever that may be, good or bad, we are able to react to things straight away. And, it often starts with our revenue manager going like, oh, I've noticed that there's this event in June next year. There's, Bruce Springsteen coming to London, so we need to review our prices. And then our marketing manager goes like, right, okay, so we're going to do a promotion for that day. Then our reservations manager goes like, okay, we need to review the rates for that day. And, that whole thing takes 10 minutes rather than hours and days, because we don't have to seek approval. We don't have to call anyone to do anything for us. It's just kind of instant decision-making.
Any tech that your guests use? Do you have an app or a communication tool?
No, we had lots of discussions about it, and we then decided. So there was a couple of discussions. Number one was self-check-in kiosks or desks, to which we said no. I'll explain in a minute why. And then the second was, yes, app and anything kind of to alleviate or help our customers. And we said no to both of them. That came back to who we are, being boutique, personable brands. We wanted to keep that tech highly efficient, highly effective, and highly invisible to our customers. So it's bringing that human element back to hospitality as much as possible. Now, if we were, branded hotel, a big branded hotel, and our business was built on, again, transactions with a short length of stay and lots of people checking in and checking out every day, this would be different, because I would then look to bring those efficiencies into front of house and the whole experience, including the apps, including, TV systems and whatnot. It's the opposite here. So we consciously chose not to do any of that for that reason, because we wanted to maintain a human element where technology is there. Any solution that we may want to bring in the future is already enabled through our architecture, through our overall kind of structure of the system. So we can plug things in and out as we want without much fuss, without breaking anything, without having to rebuild everything. But no, we specifically, consciously chose not to bring any other elements for that reason.
So wondering, out of all the tech that you talked about, or maybe one that you have not implemented yet, what is one vendor or one app that you feel is really innovative that you've seen on the market? Maybe you've recently added it, or maybe you haven't added it yet, but what's one that you are excited about?
So the latest one, I think we've had it for like 9 months now, so it's not that new really. It's Roomdex, essentially an upselling tool for pre-arrivals. And all of us, we really like it. But again, going back to the human element, we never wanted to be too pushy about our upselling elements of the business, because it's a fine line, right? Some people do upselling much better, where they sometimes suggest saying, would you like a room upgrade? Is there a special occasion? Maybe I can offer you this deluxe room, and would you like some champagne in it? So there's subtle ways to deal with some customers, whereas I think in majority of cases, and it's not just hotels, it's retail as well, it can feel pushy, it can feel tacky, it can feel a little bit kind of almost intrusive. It's a very fine line. It often depends on the individual doing it rather than anything else. So we said, look, is there a way for us to do upselling or be gentle about it by not destroying this customer experience? And then that's where Roomdex came in, essentially, where you still get an email. If there's rooms available, you can still upgrade your room. But we try to do it again in a subtle, non-intrusive, more of a suggestive way. Now, upselling, that's not new. That's been around for, I think, ages. Well, I think what I found Roomdex does much better, they offer a dynamic upselling technique. So essentially, it looks in our inventory, it looks which rooms are available, and it really offers our customers proper upgrade rather than just kind of a default, you pay £50 more and then you get this room, because that's what most do. They kind of do like this templated thing, if, but, then, and that's the outcome of the email. Whereas, again, Roomdex is much more flexible in that and really kind of creates value for us, because every month we get, I think, about between £6,000 and £7,000 an extra revenue that probably wouldn't have otherwise, through upgrades, through kind of people saying, oh yes, I do want breakfast, or didn't think of that before, so I have it now, I'll order that. Oh yeah, there's a nice room, so I'll pay for your accommodation, but actually your price difference not that much, so I'll pay a little bit extra for a slightly better room and whatnot. And again, then allows, going back to the kind of personal experience, it then allows our front of house teams to not be that pushy salesperson, to just say, I saw you upgraded, what a great choice. Here's your key, here's your room. And, keep that process as simple, as personable as possible, where you can talk about the weather, you can talk about how long it took you to get here, talk about your favorite cocktail, because our bartender can mix it up for you straight away, rather than going like, oh, would you like another room? Oh, it's going to be another £100. Oh, it's going to be this kind of like, again, it's through technology enabling that human interaction and being more natural about that interaction rather than trying to, push for upselling.
Switching gears a little bit, I would love to hear about one or two highest priority business objectives that you're focused on and how technology helps you get there.
Cost controls, which is probably, at the last 12 months for sure in Europe and UK in particular it's been a hot topic with inflation ramping up and unfortunate kind of global events happening, which naturally influence how much things cost and often not being able to predict that future that far ahead. So it's really cost controls. And again, we turn to technology and, it's not exclusive to hotels, but it really allowed us to keep tabs, full visibility of whatever is happening in the business over kind of day in and day out. And for us, again, it's part of this tech stack that's completely invisible to our customers, to our consumers, to our guests. Yeah, just having a system that allows me as a managing director to have an overview of whatever my team is buying real time, things that are being posted in our accounting system straight away, again, real time. So I don't have to wait till the end of a month to suddenly go like, oh my God, guys, you've spent, too much money and there's nothing I can do now because you've already done it. It's allowing me in particular, because again, it's my responsibility to make sure the business is successful, to understand exactly where we are. And then, if our revenue projections are dropping because, let's say, the bookings are not kind of picking up, I'm then straight away able to make adjustments on a cost basis going forward. And again, our customers don't see that. They don't, to them it's an invisible thing, but it's very, very important for me because, people sometimes forget it's still a business. People talk about concepts and experience and everything else, and I do as well, but it's still a business. It needs to be profitable, it needs to be well controlled, it needs to be accounted for. Yeah, so for me, again, not exclusive to hospitality or hotels, but to me that was the most crucial bit over the last 12 months. And it will continue being that in the next 12 months. And it's not a very sexy topic because accountants talk about it rather than hoteliers, but I could not survive without it.
So thinking about today's very dynamic, fast changing environment, what do you feel are one or two important skills that hoteliers should have?
Flexibility. I think that's number one, because if you're not able to adjust, and again, I'm speaking as myself because I'm working within independent hotel sphere or economy. When you work for a branded hotel, you have some safety net. You have bigger people, bigger corporations. You get probably slightly wider funding kind of pots where you have a lot more information because there's a lot more people vested in your success. Whereas, in my environment, we're independent. Again, like I said, there's a lot of freedom to that. There's a lot of freedom to make decisions and do things, but there's also a lot more responsibility. So there's no room for error. Whenever decisions we make, we need to kind of check and check again. We do not have luxury of waiting for something. We need to make decisions there and then. So I think that flexibility, but also that decision making to kind of to not wait, to not procrastinate is very, very important. And then being able to, as a third point, I suppose, is that ongoing learning. You cannot use the same learnings or same information or same skills that you had 10 years ago because, again, I started in the business 17 years ago and whatever I learned there or then no longer applies. The world has changed, the market has changed, the landscape of hospitality as a whole has changed. Therefore, that ability to learn and evolve and kind of trying to foresee a little bit, well, maybe not foresee, but kind of adjust your mindset, knowing that the future will look different, even if you don't know how different it will look or what it will look like. That's very important because, I've seen people time and time again kind of crumble or almost freeze in themselves where they go like, I don't know what to do, or, it never happened to me. And it's a very human reaction. It's normal. We all have moments of doubts in ourselves and whatnot, but not making a decision, not being able to evolve is much worse than making a wrong decision, I find. When you freeze, you lose time. When you make a wrong decision, at least you can learn from that and then adjust and move on, but at least make a decision. Yeah, flexibility, ability to learn and just keep up with the times is otherwise it's not going to be easy.
Do you have any advice on keeping up with new developments? How do you stay up to date?
My network, essentially, my connections, my friends, just that is networking and networking. And, that comes in various shapes and forms these days. You get a bunch of, very interesting podcasts these days. Listen to some of them. You get websites such as yours. Again, I read it from time to time because I'm curious to see what's happening there. Over the last couple of years, I felt like speed of innovation in hospitality has slowed down. It was about 5 years ago. There was lots and lots of new tech that came out. I was like, this is amazing. And now I feel like that tech is getting better, but innovation has stopped. It's almost like people keep doing the same thing, just, again, better and improving and evolving, which is great. But where's the new stuff? And I kind of feel like there's some sort of gap. And I don't know what the new thing will be. I don't have a crystal ball on that, but the innovation has stopped. But again, that's the only way to keep up, right? And getting those ideas. A lot of people keep talking about AI, which is fantastic and it's amazing. And you see OpenAI and whatnot doing all these amazing things. Great. And then people keep talking about AI and hospitality. I'm like, but where is it? It's good to talk about it. It's important to talk about it. But where is it? There's no samples. I haven't seen anything just yet. People sometimes present things as AI. And you go like, but that's not AI. It's just a clever algorithm. That's not the same thing as AI. And yeah, and the last thing, probably LinkedIn as well. I learn most things, be it tech or kind of, industry news or whatever, just LinkedIn. Whether it's people I know that are posting it, whether it's kind of reputable magazines that keep posting a lot of things. That's the only way to keep up. It's the only way to kind of keep an eye on what's happening and what's next. Yeah, also need to be able to probably have a good sense of filter because there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people, publications that kind of recycle same things again and again, and it's often relevant. So a good sense of maybe moral compass as well as ability to filter out what's true and what's not, and maintaining that good, healthy level of criticism for yourself and others is also a good thing to have.
So last question, always a fun one. What is one thing that you believe about hotel tech that other folks in the industry may not agree with?
That legacy PMS and legacy systems are dead. It's a very slow, very painful death, and it's ongoing, but they're just dead. Through my friends and my network and all colleagues, current colleagues, it's a dying breed. It's the only reason why legacy PMS systems are still there is because no one has ever gotten fired for choosing a legacy system. That's the only thing. So some hotels out there keep going with them just because it's a low risk. You cannot get fired. You cannot get kind of into trouble by your owners or your operators or whatever it is when you choose a system that everyone else has been using for the last 30 years. But as a piece of technology, as a solution to a business, it's dying because with the cost and the speed and limitations that they come with, it's no longer a business-friendly solution. That's my slightly controversial thing, which I'm very happy to say out loud.
And by legacy, do you mean like system that you're installing on hardware, like on premise, no open API?
Yeah, that kind of thing that is essentially close to the world that you need someone else to configure for you. A system, that just, has a high risk of losing your data if the hard drive gets fried or something. Something that was developed 20, 30 years ago, and actually at the core of it, forget the user interface, but at the core of it has not been evolved. To me, that's a legacy system.
Well, thank you so much for going through the questions with me. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to Hotel Tech Insider, produced by HotelTechReport.com. Our goal with this podcast is to show you how the best in the business are leveraging technology to grow their properties and outperform the concept by using innovative digital tools and strategies. I encourage all of our listeners to go try at least one of these strategies or tools that you learned from today's episode. Successful digital transformation is all about consistent small experiments over a long period of time. So don't wait until tomorrow to try something new. Do you know a hotelier who would be great to feature on this show? Or do you think that your story would bring a lot of value to our audience? Reach out to me directly on LinkedIn by searching for Jordan Hollander. For more episodes like this, follow Hotel Tech Insider on all major streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music.